So what we talk about and the blank chart will be on your next YouTube recording. The stuff we're handwriting in won't be there, but that means you'll have a blank chart to work off of if you want to practice again. And this same blank chart is also going to be on your Canvas. I haven't uploaded it yet, but I will after class tonight. Okay, so let's go ahead and go through them together. I'm going to start down here just because it's easier to reach. Okay, so we already knew 勉強する, 勉強します, 勉強しません. We knew those, right? 勉強しました, 勉強しませんでした. You're just applying the new rule to the verb you already knew. So that was an easy one, right? Okay, any questions about how that works? So for all of the ones you already knew, if you already know the shimasu and shimasen, just apply the new rules. Shimashita, shimasen deshita applies to all of them equally. Okay? Japanese is very nice that way. Once you get to the mas form ending, they all follow that pattern. Mas, masen, mashita, masen deshita. Every single verb in the entire language does it that way. Okay, so the only difficult part really is bridging dictionary form to mas form, right? Once you've got the mas form, if you memorize masu, masen, mashita, masen deshita, you're home free, right? You just have to know those four and what each one corresponds to. Will, won't, did, didn't, right? Okay, so to understand, wakaru, is it an u verb or a ru verb? Yeah, it's an u verb in disguise. So what's missing? Hai, wakarimasu. Wakarimasu. Wakarimasen. Wakarimashita. And wakarimasen deshita. Everybody understand why that is? Yep, it's an u verb, so it changes from ru to be. Right? Wakaru, wakarimasu. Okay. What about toru? Which category is it? It's an u verb also. So instead of toru tomas, it should be toru torimasu. Yeah. Torimasu. Torimasen, torimashita, torimasen deshita, right? Any questions about those? Okay, let's look at kaku, to write. Do me a favor, whoever's writing their ka, put your dot on the ka up higher so that it doesn't look like a small tsu. Okay, when it falls down that low, it starts to look like something different. It looks like a messy tsu instead of part of ka. So it should be up closer to the bend in the first line of the ka. Okay, so kaku changes to kakimasu, good. Kakimasen, kakimashita, kakimasen deshita, right? Okay, and of course this corresponds to will write, will not write, wrote, did not write, right? Okay. To speak, hanasu, hanashimasu, hanashimasen, hanashimashita, hanashimasen deshita. That was a review one, right? So that was easy. Okay. To drink was review also, right? Nomu, nomimasu, nomimasen, nomimashita, nomimasen deshita. Cool. Okay, iru is in or stays at. This one is a what kind? Ru verb. It's the only ru verb they introduced this chapter, right? It's the only one in this chapter. So iru changes to imasu, imasen, imashita, imasen deshita. Excellent. Any questions?
So the only one that doesn't have an add-on is the ru verbs?
The ru verbs are the ones where you drop the ru and add mas and other
just
mas
only that.
something.
And so with the u verb, that's when you have to actually add on to
Yeah,
it or change it.
U verbs, you don't add on, you change. U changes to I, and then you add mas, masen, mashita, masen, or deshita, or whatever,
Right.
okay? So that's the rule.
Okay.
Drop the ru for ru verbs, change the u to I for all the u verbs. And so if it's a ru, it changes to ri, if it's a ku, it changes to ki, and so forth.
That makes sense.
Okay, light bulb just went off. Hi.
Can you put the sen in on the imasen deshita?
Oh, whoops, thank you. Imasen deshita, didn't even see it. Thank you, good proofreading. Typos like that can really mess you up if you're trying to type in Japanese. Not so much there, because it'll just look misspelled, but if you've got a typo in something that would be kanji, and you hit the space bar that turns everything into kanji that you just typed, if you typed it wrong, you will get the wrong kanji.
Sure.
So it's always very important to proofread yourself with Japanese typing. Okay, I'm not even going to try to reach that owl. Instead, I'm going to do it down here, okay? I'm not that tall today. So, owl, okay, so owl means to meet, okay? And it changes based on the rule we just talked about to I, and then mas, right? So mas is your basic ao aimas, right? That's your basic dictionary form to mas form change, okay? And then once you've got aimas, then you know will not meet would be aimasen. Met would be aimashita, yes. And will not meet, or sorry, did not meet, past tense, did not meet would be aimasen deshita. There you go, aimasen deshita. Okay, let's do a few others verbally. So, to exist, or there is, when you're talking about inanimate objects, there's a desk, there's a door, there's a pen. Aru is the base form, right? Aru is what kind of verb? U verb, so it changes to? Arimasu. Yes, arimasu. Okay, arimasu.
I. You think that's an I.
Yeah, aru, ari. Okay, so arimasu means something exists or I have something. So if I say magic pen ga arimasu, it could mean I have a magic pen, magic marker, that's what they call it. Magic pen ga arimasu could mean I have a magic marker, or it could mean there's a magic marker. Like there is one, it exists. Okay? So for example, you're wanting to write on the board and you don't have one, you could say Majiku pen ga, what is it? Negative. Arimasen. I don't have one. I want to write on the board, but I don't have a magic marker. Right? A whiteboard marker. So Majiku pen ga arimasen. Okay? If you used to have one, or there used to be one around here somewhere and now you can't see it, you could use the past tense, I had one, or it existed, that would be arimashita, okay? And if there never was one in the first place, or you didn't have one in the past, but maybe you do now, the past tense, I didn't have it, or it didn't exist, would be arimasen deshita. Okay? I want you to contrast arimasu with iru, imasu. Not because of the way they conjugate, because they are two different patterns, right? One's ru verb, the other's u verb, but because of the meanings. Iru, imasu refers to living beings, people and animals. In the divide, according to Japanese, is not alive or dead, or a living or a non-living. It's animate versus inanimate, which is slightly different. So animate means it can move. It's alive and it can move on its own, such as animals, birds, insects, people. Okay? Inanimate means it's stationary until something else moves it. So rocks, trees, plants, flowers, tables, chairs.
Which one is fire?
I think that counts as inanimate because although it's moving in place, it's still stationary, sort of. I mean, if it's a campfire, it's just there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yes, a wildfire is a different story, but I think they still count that as
What
inanimate.
about sarcasm? You get really philosophical about this. Well, is it inanimate or not? You know.
That's just verbalization, so I don't
That's
think
more
that
America.
counts. Yeah, but generally, the divide is if it's an animal or a person, you use imas, imasen, imashita, imasen deshita. So for example, otou-san ga imasu. The father is there. Or I have a dad, or he's in existence in some way, right? If you talk about where someone is, you can say, for example, otou-san wa uchi ni imasu. My dad is at home or in the house.
Can you use the wa particle in that
Yes, you
instance?
can use participle wa there. You could use ga. I think ga is what they're teaching you to go with imas and arimas in this chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's showing that ga must be used with the
Right.
person.
Well, the word order that is most common for ga aru and ga iru phrases, ga imas and ga arimas. Those are the phrases they're teaching you, right? Something ga imasu, something ga arimasu, right? So for example, let's say neko ga imasu, there's a cat, okay, versus hon ga arimasu. And I'm going to use the kanji for hon because that's one of this chapter's kanji. Okay, so hon ga arimasu, there's a book, right? You know, we're not in Harry Potter's world, so you can't have an animate book, right? Whether or not they used imas for the monster book in the Japanese translation of Harry Potter, I don't know. I would have to actually find that copy of the book and look it up. If somebody wants to do that, feel free. But, you know, that's the kind of weird divide. I don't know what they do in Japanese. I would have to actually read some science fiction and fantasy novels in Japanese to find that out. You know, is R2-D2 imas or arimas? I don't know.
Good question. Say that, say it.
Okay, so anyway, so neko ga imasu, hon ga arimasu. Clear divide, yes? Okay, if you're talking about location, you can put the location over here. That's where it normally goes with these kinds of sentences. So you can have, for example, uchi ni neko ga imasu. In the house, there is a cat. Okay? When you swap it around, it often changes this ga to a wa when you put it over here, because then you're putting more emphasis on the fact that the cat is in the house as opposed to the dog, which is running around outside. Okay, but when you put it in this, it's more like, in my house, a cat exists. Okay? So this sentence is more like, there's a cat in the house, versus, hey, where'd your cat go? Oh, he's in the house. Okay? Okay, and then to use one of the phrases that's taught in this chapter, we could say, tsukue no ue, that's one of your new kinds, ni hon ga arimasu. So, on top of the desk, there is a book. So that's one of the kinds of structures that they're doing with this sort of stuff. So you're going to use the ni for location here, not de. Did everybody notice
Yeah.
that?
Why?
Because these are not active, they're passive. The book or the cat is just there.
So,
It's not doing anything.
so they're not like really verbs, they're kind of,
They're passive, they're stative verbs.
okay, so.
Yeah, it's just there.
It exists.
It just exists in that location. It's not doing much.
Not like
You know,
really
the cat is not running around and knocking over all the stuff on your counters. It's just sort of sleeping there on the floor. Okay? The book is not doing anything in particular. It's just laying there on the table. Right? Okay, so that's the difference between, for example, restaurant de tabemasu, eating at a restaurant. When you say tabemasu, that's obviously an action, right? Right? You're actually doing some activity. You're picking up those hashi, you're picking up your Japanese food, and you're putting it in your mouth, right? Activity. Okay, but neko ga imasu just means that a cat exists. It's not saying anything about whether or not the cat is laying there asleep or climbing the curtains. Okay? Both of those are possibilities, but it's not making any statement about it. It's just saying that the cat exists. Okay? So, uchi ni neko ga imasu. Just in the house, a cat exists. Tsukui no ue ni hon ga arimasu. Desk, top, on, book, exists. Okay? Does that kind of help make sense out of this a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay? So the other verbs in this chapter are all sort of
I'm sorry.
easy to understand. They're all more active verbs. These two are the weird ones, right? Okay, let's just go quickly through conjugation of the few that got skipped. Okay, so to buy is what? Kau, right? So it follows the same rule as which one? That we. Oh, right. So it changes to kaimasu. Yes, kaimasu, right? Kaimasu. And then, of course, it follows the same pattern. So will not buy would be kaimasen. Bought, kaimashita. Will not buy, or sorry, did not buy. Kaimasen deshita, right? Okay. Sleep, we already knew. To wait is matsu, right? This is another one of those where the fact that you learned your hiragana first is actually helpful. If we were still working with Romaji and you were spelling this TSU, you might be confused as to what it shifts to, right? But because you know the hiragana, you know that matsu has to change to machi, exactly. Machimasu, because you know that ta, chi, tsu, te, to are the set, right? Ta, chi, tsu, te, to. Remember that? Ta, chi, tsu, te, to. Those are the T group, right? So therefore, you go from tsu to chi. Matsu, machimasu. Okay? Okay, that's how all the U verbs change.
Oh my gosh, this is making so much more sense now.
Okay.
Because I was like, why are we changing it to this? Like, what? It makes
They
no sense.
all change within their own consonant group. Okay? So matsu changes to machimasu. So like Mary-san wa tomodachi o machimasu. Mary is going to wait for her friend. Okay? If she's not going to wait for her friend, she's going to use the verb machimasen. If she waited for her friend, it was machimashita, right? And if she did not wait for her friend, machimasen deshita. Yes. Let's practice saying that one real quick. Machimasen deshita. Machimasen deshita. Yes, the past tense negative can be a bit of a mouthful. Nobody's denying that, you just kind of have to practice and get used to it.
They have tongue twisters in Japanese.
Oh yes, and they're way worse than these. Yeah, the easiest one I know is niwa niwa toriga'imasu.
What does that mean?
It means in the garden there are two chickens.
Oh.
Yeah, chickens are niwa tori. Yeah, niwa is yard or garden, tori is bird, so chickens are literally yard birds. And so niwa it is the garden, right? Niwa, and then ni-wa is in, and then this is like singling this out as an important topic, right? Niwa niwa. Niwa, in this case, is two, and the measure word for winged creatures, birds mainly, feathered creatures, okay? Niwa niwa, niwa, and then niwa tori. Ga imasu. It's actually this grammar structure. Ga imasu. Niwa niwa tori ga imasu. And that's the easy one. That's the easiest tongue twister in Japanese. Some of the other ones have like tas and cheese and sus all in the same words and stuff like that. I don't know any of them all by heart. Yeah.
Niwa tori ga
Imasu. Niwa tori ga imasu. Yeah. The hardest part about that one is just keeping count of how many niwas you say. Yeah. It's still better than the 44 stone lions in Chinese though. 是是是是是子.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That one will give you headaches.
It seems like I feel like you don't even open your mouth.
Yeah. So anyway, okay, so any questions about how the conjugations work specifically? Okay, let's do a quick overview of some vocab next. Okay, I've got the hiragana vocab and the kanji vocab and all of it sort of mixed together. Okay, is it okay if I turn this off now? And I'm just going to kind of minimize this to get out of the way. Okay, that's gone. Okay, so let's look at some kanji. Yep. Hi, kinyobi. Yep, kinyobi is how you read this one. And does everybody remember what this kanji meant? Because this was one of our radicals.
It's like
Gold. Gold. So think about golden day as in payday at the end of the week, right? Most people who get paid every week get paid on a Friday.
So they can spend it all weekend.
Right. So that's sort of a traditional thing that a lot of people get paid on a Friday. So kinyobi for Friday kind of makes sense, right? That's a way to remember it at least, if nothing else. What's this one by itself? Mizu, which means water. And this was another one that was one of your radicals. See how those radicals are coming in handy already?
Sure.
Okay, what about this one?
Ichigatsu.
Yes, ichigatsu, which means January. Yes, ichigatsu, January. So what would February be? Nigatsu, that's right. What would March be? Sangatsu, yep. April? Good guess, but it's the other, Shigatsu, yes. Yes, so April is always Shigatsu, it's consistently Shigatsu. There are a few others like that that are consistently one particular reading, not the other, and we'll talk about those in a minute as we get to them. This is one of those oddball readings. Even though it looks like ichi hito, it's actually hitori, is the way this is read. Hitori de. So hitori de means alone, which makes sense if you look at it, because the de is like a by means of kind of structure, right? And one person by themselves, hitori de, alone. Does that kind of make sense? Okay, so hitori de. So that's what that means, by yourself, alone, by oneself. Okay? Everybody know this one? Say again? Kayobi, which is Tuesday, and this is the symbol for fire. So why Tuesday in particular is Fire Day, I'm not really sure.
Spicy food
on. Okay. They used to have a lot of fires on Tuesdays? I don't know. I don't really know why Tuesday in particular is Fire Day, but it is. So,
Did a lot of people get fired, maybe?
a lot of people got fired on Tuesdays. Okay. I don't think Japanese uses that same idiom for firing, but maybe they were firing things in their kilns on Tuesdays. Maybe that's where it came from. You know, they formed the pottery on Doyobi, which is Earth Day, and then it had to sit and dry on Sunday and Monday, and then by Tuesday it was firing day, maybe. Who knows? So maybe that's got to do with
start going to fire
ceramics.
So what are you doing on Fire Day?
Taking Japanese class, obviously. Right. Which one is this?
Under.
Yeah, under, which is
Down.
stop, okay?
And she
So, stop. Okay. Why it's the same as the ending of the past tense, I have no idea. They've got nothing to do with one another. Okay? It's also the ending of ashita, which means tomorrow. So once again, ashita and the shita endings on the past tense have nothing to do with one another. Ashita is actually a future thing, but wakarimashita is a past thing. So don't let that confuse you. Ashita is still future, even though now we know other shitas that are past and this shita that's under. Okay, but this looks like an illustration of under, doesn't it? So it's a nice, easy one to learn. Yeah, Sanji Han. 3:30. So the Han part is what's new, right? And
Yeah,
look, yeah, you've seen it before. And doesn't that help?
Yeah.
You've seen it before, so instead of something brand new that you've never seen, you're looking at something that looks vaguely familiar, and if you look at it carefully, it looks like a thing getting cut in half, right? The top layer already got split, the other layers are about to get cut.
Like karate chopping.
Yeah, it's like a karate chop in mid-swing, right? You know, some black belt is splitting 3 boards at once, right? And he already got the top one, and your photo caught him before 2 and 3 broke.
Yeah.
Okay? So, makes sense, right? So that's half. He's chopping them in half. Okay?
Mokuyobi.
Yeah, mokuyobi. Which one was this symbol? Tree. So for whatever reason, Thursday is tree day.
They had Earth Day on the, no,
Yeah, Earth Day is coming, don't worry.
that is not a tree
Arbor
day.
Day, yeah.
No, Earth Day and Tree Day are 2 separate things. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, so Tree Day, Arbor Day, is a Thursday.
Curious to why they choose these symbols to
Because
because
Thursday
they were
comes
so.
from Thor, so that didn't really have much to do with that.
Yeah,
Should have a lightning day.
Yeah, it's, I think the 5 elements that they picked for beyond sun and moon, because those were obvious ones, Sunday, moon day, translating from the English. I think that what they went with for the other 5 are the 5 elements from Chinese medicine.
Gold though?
Gold is an
Metal.
element.
Gold equates to metal,
Oh.
and metal is one of the elements in the Chinese system, so.
Yeah, water.
Water.
Water day, suiyobi. Notice that it's not mizuyobi. Okay, mizu is what they call the kunyomi, the Japanese origin reading, because Japanese people had mizu long before they had contact with China,
Yeah.
right? But sui is from the Chinese pronunciation because it's part of a compound that's based off of Chinese pronunciations. So a lot of times when you have 2 or 3 kanji compounds like this, they are the Chinese origin readings, which don't necessarily sound a whole lot like Chinese anymore. Sui doesn't really sound a whole lot like the modern word for this character, which is shui. Yeah, so this is sui, suiyobi.
Oh, I knew something named Shui.
Okay.
Heard that.
That's Nichiyobi.
Yep, there's Nichiyobi, which is
Sunday.
Sunday, yes.
So they were kind of confusing the readings. And
Yeah. And, oh, some of them are mixed in, that's, I was wondering where the rest of them were. They're hiding.
Everything is color coded.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
Okay.
we're like,
yeah, it's like, that's only like half the kanji things. What's going on here? Okay, this one is
Doyobi.
Doyobi, which is
Birthday.
soil, Earth Day, right? So here you have Earth Day, Saturday. Okay.
And Saturn was the god of the heavens, so they obviously were.
Yeah, they weren't basing it off of that anymore. Okay. Anybody know what this one is?
It's inside.
Naka.
In the middle.
Middle,
Yeah.
yes, naka. Middle, sometimes it references inside, but more often middle as in, you know, Andrea-san is between.
it says
Yeah,
inside
there's
of
a
the
book.
book.
Yeah, it says inside. Well, no, I shouldn't say it's between, no. Yeah, go back to inside. Inside is more accurate,
But it
actually.
gives both. It says
It gives both.
Naka
It really
meaning
just,
middle and Naka meaning
It depends on the
instead.
context.
So center
And
could also
Chu
be
is
one.
Yes, center is a possible meaning for this. Inside is a possible meaning. Middle is sometimes a translation. It depends on the context in which it's being used. But this chapter, they're using it to mean inside because if, let's say you're asking, where's your pencil, and your pencil is in your bag, kaban no naka desu. This is naka.
Inside my.
Yeah, it's inside the bag. So kaban no naka desu would be, you know, it's in the bag.
That's all that in Chugoku, that's part of.
This is also the Chu and Chugoku, yes, which is middle, as in Middle Kingdom. That's literally what Chugoku means,
Center.
middle and kingdom. Yeah, it's, the Goku in Chugoku is the same one that means country in other compounds like Kankoku, which is the country of Korea. The kan symbol indicates the Korean people, and the Chu symbol indicates Chinese ethnicity, Chinese people. And it's also based off of what Chinese people were calling themselves, which is why Japan uses the same characters that China does. This is what?
So I'm gonna say
On or
Yeah.
above or on top of. Okay, so for example, yes, it's pronounced ue. So if I asked Sierra where her bag is, she could say, "Tsukue no ue desu." It's on top of the desk, right? Tsukue no ue desu. So this is ue, and the pointing down one was
ta.
shita. There you go. Okay, so we've got ue, shita, and naka. Okay,
Nihonjin.
yes, Nihonjin. Okay, so we now
Japanese
know
person.
Japanese person, yes. And now you can add this jin not only to nihon, to the nihonjin, you could also add it to Gokujin, to make Chinese people. You could add it to America in katakana and make America-jin, Furansu-jin, Mexico-jin, Philippine-jin, whatever, Russia-jin, whatever country you want to do. If it's a katakana country, you put the country name and then jin in kanji to mean the people of that country. Okay, so now you can do all kinds of nationalities. Okay, this is hon, yes. When it's part of nihon or nihonjin, it's the origin meaning, sun's origin, land of the rising sun. Okay, when it's by itself, it's the book meaning, hon. Hon ga arimasu.
So what does the company, so ni, two,
The ni in nihon is nichi, sun.
so.
It's just red.
Sun, people.
No, this has dual meanings. One of the base meanings of this character is origin. If you look at it, if you deconstruct it, it's got the piece that means tree there, right? With an added line. The idea of the character is when you're looking through the trees at the sunrise and the sun is just barely starting to break over the horizon, you get a sort of a line through the trees effect. And so that became the symbol for origin. Just because how do you symbolize an abstract concept like origin? They had to come up with something. And this is a pretty ancient concept. Ancient Chinese people did have the concept of the origin of something. So they came up with a concept for it and a design for explaining it very early in the development of Chinese characters. It was not one of the ones that took them hundreds and hundreds of years to come up with. They invented this one fairly early. So they used existing symbols. So they had the symbol for tree, and then they added the line to indicate, the sun just barely starting to come up over the horizon through the trees, and that's origin. Makes sense, right? It's a good way to symbolize origin. It's one of those that, yeah, you have to be taught it. It's not something you're just going to guess on your own like wedge stock, But once you're taught it, it makes enough logical sense that people can learn it easily and everybody can agree, okay, yeah, we can agree that that means origin. Now, how it came to mean also book,
You start a book.
maybe.
Like you.
Honestly, my best guess, based on my knowledge of Chinese, is this book, this symbol in Chinese is used as the measure word, the counting word for how many books you have. When you count like sheets of paper in English, you could say 1 sheet, 2 sheets, 3 sheets of paper. In Chinese, they have measure words like sheet or like slice of toast. You don't say give me 2 toasts. You say give me 2 slices of toast, right? In English, some words require those measure words, some words do not. In Chinese, every noun in existence requires a measure word, and they all get divided up into categories, and bound volumes of things that have been made into books, take this character as their measure word in Chinese. My guess is that somehow got conflated with the concept of books in Japanese, and this became the character for books in Japanese.
Books of the origin of knowledge.
There you go. That's another way to remember it. But at any rate, this is easier to write than the Chinese character for books, so just enjoy
What is
it.
The Chinese one.
Oh, so you're gonna make her write it?
Yes, I'm curious.
It's not that bad.
Huh?
Better.
Yeah, it's not that bad. It's
This
compared
is
to
actually the
da-da-da-da-da.
kanji for kaku in Japanese,
It's in here somewhere.
to write. Yeah, it's
It's
kaku to write in Japanese, but for whatever reason, in modern Chinese, this is book, this is the measure word for book, but in modern Japanese, this is to write and this is a book. And there's a different character that is the measure word for books in Japanese. But this is also the sho in jisho. So it still means book sometimes in Japanese. It's the sho in kyokasho, textbook, jisho, dictionary, and it's also the sho in shodo, which is the way of calligraphy. So, go figure. Okay. Getsuyobi, which means Monday, moon day, right? Moon day, Monday. Okay, notice that it's getsuyobi for the day of the week, but ichigatsu when it's a month. Okay? And then this, of course, is Nihon. Okay, and then since they don't seem to have made flashcards for us of all the others, I was just going to point out special readings for these guys. So, it's a very messy katsu. There, that's better. So, Shigatsu is April, Shichigatsu is July, and Kugatsu is September. Okay, so these take Ku and Shichi and Shi. So they all take those specific pronunciations for those
So it's
months.
the same transformation as the hours and the clock time?
Yes, yes.
Well, except
Shi-
for, no.
No,
except for
yoji is
yoji.
different, but shichiji and kuji are the same.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not consistent all the way across. Sorry.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
So with the word for Japan, sometimes it's Nippon and sometimes it's Nippon.
Right, same kanji,
They're the same.
it's just it's an
Different
optional pronunciation. Nippon pronunciation has a more nationalistic, reminiscent of World War II kind of connotation, so it's not as common these days, although there are some conservative politicians who will talk about Nippon in political speeches and such. And, you know, Nipponji. But it sounds a little bit over the top nationalistic in normal everyday conversation to talk about Nippon instead of Nihon.
Yeah.
Nihon is the more normal pronunciation in modern colloquial speech. Okay, let's practice some katana. Hai, arubaito, which did not come from English.
No, I
Can
was
you
wondering
tell?
about that.
Arubaito. Can anybody guess? First of all, what's it mean? Who remembers? Part-time job, part-time work. Okay, arubaito. Arbeit.
Dutch, maybe?
You're close.
Uh,
Arbeit, sound familiar to anybody? German for work. Okay, so, yeah. So arubaito is from
I thought it was already
German.
Japanese, not German.
Yeah, well, Japanese has borrowed katakana words from many languages on this planet. So,
English is worse.
yeah.
That's true.
So arubaito is from German. There are a smattering of German and Dutch words in Japanese. There are probably more French, Spanish, and Portuguese words in Japanese just because Spanish and Portugal were the first European countries to make contact with Japan. But English is still dominant. And all the tech words pretty much came from English. So if you're learning Japanese, still English is an advantage in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
So like, do they have an actual Japanese word for part-time job, or do they just not use it?
I think for regular work, like full-time work, they would use traditional Japanese words like shigoto, and hataraku is the verb to do work, and tomeru is another verb for doing work.
Concept of part-time.
Yeah,
German.
I think the concept of a part-time job is so modern that they just borrowed a word for it instead of making up something new in the modern period. Because before the modern era, I don't think the concept of a part-time job really existed. Either you worked full-time at some kind of kaisha, or you were a full-time farmer, or a full-time teacher, or a full-time stay-at-home mother and wife. But the concept of, you know, I go to school, but I also work a few hours a week, that didn't exist before the modern era, I don't think. Okay, what about this one? Kurasu.
Class.
Yeah, as in what we're doing right now. Kurasu. So a class, like Nihongo no kurasu would be Japanese language class, right? Isu. What you're all sitting in right now. Chair. Hi, isu. Omiyage. You go to Tokyo and you buy something and you give it to your friend when you get home. Souvenir. Omiyage.
Gohan.
Rice or meal, yes. Just like, you know, in English idiom, our daily bread kind of refers to meals for the day. Gohan is a word for meal as well as cooked rice. Because if you were really poor in ancient Japan, rice might have been the whole meal. You know. Hey, chikaku.
Next to?
Next to or near. It's actually near rather than next to. Chikaku. So chikaku, 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 chikaku. It could be diagonally or catty corner or whatever. Just it's near, close by. Takusan is. It's not a Mr. Taku.
No. Many or a lot?
Many or a lot, yeah. So takusan tabemashita. I ate a lot. Or takusan arimasu. I have many of something.
So it could be an adverb as well as an adjective? That's how we're using it, because I ate a lot means,
Yeah. Yeah, it's more adverb-like than it is adjective-like. Yeah, takusan. Yeah, it's more of an adverb. It doesn't really fit in either of the adjective categories in Japanese. Doshite? Why? So you can ask, doshite desu ka? Why is that? Yeah. Doshite tabemasen ka? Why aren't you eating any? You know, or doshite tabemashita ka? Why'd you eat it? Or doshite ikimashita ka? Why'd you go? Kara. Anybody?
it's gonna be one of those directions.
Yeah. Kara. Is it not on the list? This might be one of the ones I added to the list because it needed. Yeah, kara and made I added to the list as well as sore kara because they use them in your workbook exercises without explaining them first. Eek, I hate that. So kara means from in the time sense and also in the place sense. So uchi kara gakko made would be from home to school. Ichiji kara sanji made would be from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Okay, so kara is one of those that I added to the list. Aru, to exist. Aru, arimasu, arimasen, arimashita, arimasen deshita. That one. Kaku is to
Right.
write, yes. Masu, to wait. Another conjugation of this that you've heard of, but we're not learning how to get there yet, is matte, as in matte kudasai, chotto matte. You've heard that before, right?
Yes.
It comes from the same root as matsu. We just haven't learned how to arrive at it yet. That's a lesson 6 thing. Iru. There is,
Or
as
stays
in a person. So a person is in a place or a person stays in a place. Right. Okay.
Gomenasai.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, so the byo part actually means illness. In is like an institution.
Oh.
Hospital?
Yeah, byoin is hospital, yeah.
Machi.
Machi,
Town or?
town. Yeah, town, yeah, town.
Good enough.
Sometimes they use it for city, the way we talk about, hey, what city do you live in? And you might actually live in a small town, not a city, but we use city as a sort of generic term and then we narrow it down. Machi gets used that way in Japanese. So, you know, like doko no machi, which town gets used, and then once you find out whether the person actually lives in a town or a village or a city, then you use the more specific term. But machi by itself gets used both for city and town, but when you're talking specifics, it's actually a specific range, this many people to that many people, and it's a town range. You know, Muda is smaller, it's like 0 to whatever, and then Machi is the next one, and then Shi is a bigger city. And then there are a few special cities in Japan that have special designations that don't fit anything else. And those, I believe the only ones that are the special designations are Osaka, Tokyo, and Kyoto might be one of the special ones too, I forget now. Kino means yesterday. So for example, Kino benkyou shimashita. Yesterday I studied. Okay.
Ichijikan.
Hai,
So-
ichijikan.
Oh, Ichijikan, okay.
Not
So-
ichijihan, but ichijikan. Does anybody know what the kan part does?
So it means like for 1 hour?
1 hour, yes. So ichiji by itself is 1 o'clock, right? But ichijikan is a duration of 1 hour. So it might be starting at 2 o'clock and ending at 3 o'clock, but that's still ichijikan, right? Make sense? So that's what the kan does. You put the kan on the end of a time phrase and it turns into a duration of that amount. So you can do it for a whole week. Ishu kan is a week of duration. You can do it for hours. You can do it for a number of different phrases.
So you
But
can
for now, we're mostly doing hours in this chapter.
So you can say that and then use kara to explain what the times from this time to this time?
Right, so, yeah, if somebody asks you how long is it gonna take, and you tell them ichijikan, it's gonna take 1 hour. And then if they wanna know what time it's gonna start, you could say 3時から4時まで, from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, or something like that. Okay? Toki is another reading for that kanji for time. Okay, so for example, they introduced the phrase in this chapter, kodomo no toki. Kodomo means child. No is the no that we've learned before. Kodomo no toki. Can you guess what that phrase means? Kodomo no toki. The time when someone was a child. So kodomo no toki
Childhood.
is like childhood time. Kodomo no toki. Okay? Koukou no toki, the time when someone was in high school. Okay?
Oh,
So blank no toki is a phrase that you can use to say the time when a certain state existed. Hi.
So that reading is used when that kanji is by itself, not with
Yes.
like a number or han.
Exactly. Yeah, so this is what we call the kunyomi, the Japanese reading. And a key clue that it's meant to be pronounced toki and not ji is that it's got hiragana front and back of it. So like kodomo no toki. Even if you write the kodomo part in kanji, the no is always going to be hiragana. And so if it's got hiragana and then toki, it's most likely going to be read toki. If it's got a number in kanji and then this kanji, it's going to be read as the time phrase, like ichiji, yoji, fuji, whatever.
square.
Yes. Square is the best. Nickel is a
Cat.
cat. Right.
Mail.
Meru is email. Yes. Notice the katakana word is the modern stuff. Meru, email. You know, snail mail is its own vocabulary that's in kanji.
Yeah, but like, it's so funny how like before, like everyone was excited for email, now everyone's like, whenever they get an actual physical, they're like, oh my gosh, someone actually
Yeah.
put time into mailing
Right,
to me.
right.
Yeah. Okay. This one is
Oh,
koen, which means
Park.
park. Yes, koen. The ko part is actually public, and n is like garden. So public garden, public park. That makes sense, right? Koen. Departo.
Depart.
Yeah.
Believe.
Depart is the abbreviation. It's actually
Department.
department store. Yes, departo is short for department store because departamento store is too long to bother with. So they shortened it to departo. Okay, so that's departo. So, and again, modern thing, so they just put a katakana word on it. Migi. Migi. Right hand. Right. The right side of something. Mae. Front. Okay, so you're doing directions. Okay, let's do a few more of these as fast as we can.
Kaimono. Shopping.
Shopping, yes. The kai is the same kai from kaimas, to buy, and mono means things. So buying things, shopping. Kaimono. Anata, you. Right? Dog, right? Child, right? Shashin, photograph, as in shashin o torimasu. Remember, torimasu was to take. So shashin o torimasu. You take pictures.
Potato.
Hoteru?
Hotel.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, it sounded like potato.
No,
I was like,
it's not a po. It's po. Hoteru. Hoteru is a hotel, right? Restaurant.
Restaurant.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly what it sounds like. Restaurant. Jikan.
However long.
Yeah, however long. So like nijikan would be 2 hours. Jujikan would be 10 hours. 24 jikan? 24 jikan. 24 hours, as in, 24-hour store or whatever.
Jack Valley.
Yeah.
Senshu last week.
Hai, senshu. Notice the sen means before, shu means week. So the week before now, senshu. Yeah, senshu, yeah, the shu from shumatsu. Shu was week, matsu is end. Senshu matsu would be last weekend.
Oh, so sad.
Ao.
To meet, ao, aimasu.
Tegami.
Tegami,
It's a letter.
a letter, there's your snail mail. Pan, bread, right? Notice that's not from English. Pan,
Portuguese.
Portuguese or Spanish, pan, right?
It's
Bread.
rice bread though.
Could be either.
Otera.
Otera,
Temple.
temple, yes, Buddhist temple, otera.
Supa.
Supermarket.
Supermarket, yes, supa, not Superman, supermarket.
I was thinking soup.
Oh, no, that would be soup.
Soup.
Basute.
Hi, basute.
Bus stop.
Bus stop, yes, the bus part is bus, basu, okay? Te means stop in Japanese, so basute is a bus stop.
Kaimasu.
Kao kaimasu, to buy. Toru, torimasu, to take a picture, yep. Wakaru, wakarimasu, to understand, right?
Urai.
Gurai,
So, about,
approximate, yeah. As in, ichijikan gurai, about 1 hour. Remember, goro was for time, like ichiji goro, approximately 1 o'clock. Gurai is for duration, 1時間ぐらい, about 1 hour. Same concept but different application. This one is
だから、
dakara,
so therefore.
so or therefore, yeah. So that kara that we learned as from, it can also sometimes mean therefore or because. The da is actually a modification of des. So it can go on the end of one sentence and start the next phrase to say blank, therefore blank. Dakara.
隣。
Tonari.
Nearby.
Okay,
Tonari.
chikaku is nearby, tonari is
Next to.
next to. Okay, tonari also can refer to next to as in next door neighbor. So like that movie My Neighbor Totoro, Japanese title is Tonari no Totoro. Totoro next door.
I love that movie.
Yeah, tonari. To means and or with. So like tomodachi to ikimasu. I'm gonna go with the friend. Okay, it can be with. Tomodachi to. Aida. For example, Andrea-san wa Alex-san to Avery-san no aida desu. Between, yes. She's in between those two guys. Aida. Made, which kara and made are like bookends, right? Ichiji kara, niji made, from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Tokyo kara Kyoto made, from Tokyo to Kyoto. So this is to or until, and it's not on the list, you can add it. Made. Okay.
So what is it for? It's two. It's distance.
Kara and made. So kara and made.
It's the same as from
Oh,
distance.
sorry, here I go writing in Japanese when I'm supposed to be writing in English.
From.
To and from. No, sorry, backwards. From, to, or until. Okay, so from 1 to 2, or from New York to Cincinnati. Karamade. Okay, this one is hidari, which is left. Ishiro, back or behind. Okay, let's whip through the last few. Hitoride, alone. Shita, under, below. Ue, on top, above. Naka, center, middle.
Kinyobi Friday.
Kinyobi, Friday.
Mokuyobi Thursday.
Yobi,
Suyobi Wednesday.
Yobi,
Kayobi Tuesday. Tetsuyobi Monday. Ponya bookstore.
Ponya, bookstore, yes. Ya means store. Shop. So like bookshop, Ponya. And
Oh, person.
hito, person, okay? So hopefully that gives you the grounding to get started on your exercises. And on Thursday, we will do some sentence activities where we're actually making sentences about stuff. Okay?
Nice.
That- That's it. Okay. Erase all this stuff.
Not mine.
Oh, and I looked at my homework because I didn't check it before I left, and I saw that you have circled. I forgot to put instead of the masen, I put masens. So I put the ends. At the end.
Okay.
Change that.
Okay.
I have the rest of my homework too.
Oh, okay, just leave it here for me, I've gotta,
I can't believe that's the simplest thing. That's literally the first exercise. I messed it up. Like, that's okay.
okay, so you through with this part and you're ready for an open, alright.
I know, but I'm so disappointed in myself. Like, that's the simplest thing.
Ready is a
Failure in life,
Ready is
Sarah.
your level.
Failure in life.
Okay, let's go ahead and
If that's real life,
That's what